well, has emphasized, it's very difficult to stop the use of Bitcoin, but you can make it criminal in many different countries. If you have an international agreement among countries that Bitcoin will not be permitted to be converted into the local currency, then the criminals will be trapped with owning Bitcoin that they can't spend. And I think the best thing to do is for the US and other countries to get together and agree that in none of their countries will Bitcoin be convertible into the local currency. Right.
Welcome to the Crypto Teacher. And guys, I come back with that video just to make you think. And just like I stated in my video a couple of days ago, with the Banking Committee on Crypto, we knew they were going to come out with the Hegelian dialectic. It is 100% effective. Now we see Elizabeth Warren speaking against private cryptos, stating why we just don't have a Cbdc. The Fed is doing great. At first, she always attacks the Fed. Now she's for the Fed's dollar. We know that we're already digital already. Majority of people get paid, whether they're doing a paycheck or business, everything is digital. And then also they keep talking about China, what China's digital currency is doing. China wants total control over the people. And please store this narrative, guys, because we know the central banks who control the US dollar, the same central banks that control China. This has always been a part of the plan. Remember, Anthony Sutton told us about this a long time ago. China has control over Bitcoin mining for a reason. Now we had the professor talk about Bitcoin being banned. We know they're not going to ban Bitcoin because we know about Bitcoin Lightning and the central banks controlling it. Remember, Bitcoin in the white paper was supposed to scale. The central banks got together and Blockstream to stop that. Bitcoin is going to be a piece of this puzzle. Remember the end game, guys, what David from R3 said. If we want to boost the economy, airdrop this free money. They have 3 to 6 months to spend it, or poof, it's gone. Keep that in your head, people, because that's exactly where they want to move it to. We know in China they only can spend the money on certain retailers. The same way the United States is using universal basic income in certain states in order to get ready for our digital currency. We know that CBDCs are illegal. The only way they can make them legal is by the Hegelian dialectic, showing that private cryptocurrencies are not worth it. We need to go with the normal central banks. And that's where Ripple, XLM come in the plan. Because we know when it comes to the New World Order, it's all planned out. You have a wonderful day.
5 minutes. As our witnesses have described, digital currencies offer a lot of potential advantages over cash in your wallet or even the electronic balance on your debit card. You don't have to worry about carrying cash around and losing it or having it stolen. If you want to send money to somebody else, digital currency can be easier and faster. But in order for those advantages to be realized, the digital version of cash needs to be secure, stable, and accepted everywhere. Your local grocery store is only going to accept digital currency if it knows that the digital version of the $100 that you use to pay for your groceries is actually worth $100. Your babysitter is only going to keep showing up if she knows that the digital $20 you sent her is really worth $20. So let's talk about using cryptocurrency like Bitcoin to pay for groceries or to pay for a babysitter. Dr. Narula, is the value of cryptocurrency like Bitcoin generally stable and reliable?
Thanks for the question, Senator Warren. No, it is not. Unfortunately, we just witnessed the value of the entire cryptocurrency ecosystem dropping by about 40% over the course of the last 2 months.
Yeah, and how much money was that? Do you know in dollars what we think the value of that drop was?
I think it was, I believe it was close to $1 trillion.
Yeah, about $1 trillion that this thing dropped. But think about what it means for an individual seller. Like it means the grocery store could take in $100 in Bitcoin to pay for groceries, but by the end of the day, the Bitcoin could be worth only $60, in which case the store loses out. So these wild swings in value mean that Bitcoin is a terrible currency. In fact, that's why, except for criminals, most people are holding Bitcoin as a speculative investment, a way to make money rather than as a substitute for money, as a way to buy this week's groceries or to pay their babysitter. Now, the crypto industry knows about this problem, so they came up with so-called stable coins. And I think we've heard a couple of references to that already today. This is a kind of cryptocurrency that claims to be pegged to the value of a fixed asset, like the dollar. Professor Menand, are these so-called stable coins as safe, reliable, and stable as, say, a digital dollar that's issued by the Federal Reserve?
No, no, Senator, certainly not. They're much riskier. They're dangerous to both their users and as they grow to the broader financial system. So whereas Bitcoin is something we really haven't seen before, stable coins they're the devil we know, just wearing new clothes. They're teched up versions of money market mutual funds in certain respects. They're a type of deposit substitutes, and deposit substitutes are very unstable because the people who issue them don't have bank charters, they don't have deposit insurance, they don't have access to the Fed's discount window. And if people lose confidence in stable coins, there's a good chance they'll dump them en masse in a sort of a classic run dynamic. And the people who are slow to get out could be left with significant losses.
Okay, as you rightly point out, this is not the first time that we've had private sector alternatives to the dollar. In fact, I'm going to go back further than you did. In the 19th century, wildcat notes were issued by banks without any underlying assets. And eventually, the banks that issued these notes failed, and public confidence in the banking system was undermined. The federal government stepped in, taxed these notes out of existence, and developed a national currency instead. And that's why we've had the stability of a national currency. So, in theory, a digital currency issued and backed by a central bank could provide the advantages of cryptocurrency without those risks. The Federal Reserve, a trusted institution, could provide a digital version of cash to the public that is secure, stable, and accepted everywhere. So let me ask you, Professor Menand, what role could a central bank digital currency play in reducing these kinds of risks to financial stability?
So a well-designed CBDC could serve as a public alternative to these cryptocurrencies and potentially crowd out their usage. In contrast to private digital currencies, CBDCs would be sovereign, non-defaultable money. They'd be cheaper to use, and they would not be subject to bank run dynamics.
Right. So that's very helpful. Thank you. You know, there are reasons why cryptocurrencies are popping up like weeds. Our current banking system offers bad service or no service to millions of people and businesses, and swindlers have figured out how to skim profits off investors by buying and selling in a marketplace that has no cop on the beat. The risks of replaying the experience of the 19th century are real. These private actors issue their own dollar substitutes that they convince everyone are just as safe as the dollar itself, until, of course, a crisis hits, their dollar substitutes fail, they threaten the entire financial system and drag down the whole economy. So I think what this hearing is about is exploring how central bank digital currency could serve the American people. But it's clear we need to improve our banking and payment systems. But the testimony and facts discussed here make it clear also that we need to address.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Warren. And I too want to thank you and Senator Kennedy for having this hearing. This is a fascinating and very important topic. I would just like to suggest that as we consider the creation of a central bank digital currency in the United States, one of the most fundamental questions we need to ask ourselves is, what problem is the central bank digital currency trying to solve? In other words, do we need one? It's not yet clear to me that we do. I know there's some who think that a central bank digital currency would be helpful because it would enable the Fed to provide retail banking accounts to Americans. Now, in my view, turning the Fed into a retail bank is not a good idea. Our retail banks actually do a great job of serving the needs of consumers because they compete with one another in the private sector. But it's not just banks. Beyond banks, rapidly evolving technology companies are expanding access to the financial system, providing all types of financial products and services to consumers, including people of very modest means. I don't think we need a state-sponsored bank interfering with this very successful free enterprise system. Nor do we want a government entity like the Fed positioned to possibly infringe on our privacy, able to track our personal information and monitoring our banking transactions. And does anyone think that the government would provide the high quality customer service that consumers want from a retail bank? The Fed, after all, has absolutely no experience in that realm. I know others suggest that the US needs to create a central bank digital currency in order to compete with China. The fact that China may well be creating a digital currency doesn't mean it's inevitable that the yuan would replace the dollar as the world's reserve currency. In fact, there are a lot of reasons to believe China's digital currency won't be terribly appealing. China, after all, has a state-controlled economy, has a repressive authoritarian government. It's got capital controls on the yuan that make it unattractive as a reserve currency. And let's face it, China's motivation for launching a digital currency in the first place undoubtedly includes tightening its grip on its economy and enhancing surveillance of its citizens. And it would like to be able to surveil others. China likely wants to track every single transaction done with its digital currency and directly control this currency. With features like this, it's doubtful, in my view, that people will flock to the digital yuan and abandon the US dollar as the world's reserve currency. While I'm not at all certain that we need a central bank digital currency, I think we should consider the development of private digital currencies. After all, it's been the private sector, not the government, that's been responsible for developing cryptocurrencies, including stable coins, which, by the way, can be perfectly stable with respect to the dollar and have no price volatility at all with respect to the dollar. Private digital currencies have the potential to increase access to financial services for all Americans while increasing individual privacy. Now, people have raised legitimate, important issues about private digital currencies, including their use in illicit activity and the possibility that they could affect monetary policy and our existing financial infrastructure. I think we need to discuss these, we need to understand these issues, and we may well need to address them. But we shouldn't lose sight of the tremendous benefits that the underlying technology of digital currencies offers and that disintermediated payments can offer as well. That's why I think we should encourage the continued development of private digital.
We're going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go. But clearly, we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
This effort. And China has big plans for this. They intend to seed their digital yuan into the global environment by giving it away to visitors at next winter's Olympics. When they arrive at the airport, they're going to get yuan digital wallets. They're going to receive digital yuan. They're going to use it throughout their visits to Beijing, and then they're going to take it back to their home countries. They see this as a huge advantage. Why? Because who controls the underlying protocols, who controls the underlying standards of the future of money will control the future.